Hello, hello. Thanks for joining. We have two very special guests today, but before we get started, I'm going to ask that you share the video so we can get as many people as we need to watch this video. This is a very good show I was going to say this morning, but it's been a crazy, wow, last couple of days. So with that being said, I started off to say happy Sunday, but then I said, is it a happy Sunday? Because we have so much chaos going on. We have the pandemic going on. We have the protesting, the rioting, but I still can say happy Sunday because the good thing is that we are no longer silent. Not that we've been silent in the past, but it's more and more people that are coming together for the lives of those Black Americans that are dying at the hands of officers and police brutality. And yes, they're out there for George Floyd, but they're also out there for many others that have lost their lives. And they're also out there just because of the root of the systemic racism that has been taking place in our country ever since we've been here. Let's just be honest. It's been this way since the beginning of our time and what's supposed to be our home. So I am thankful that we are able to share our voice. And social media is one way to do it, and we're seeing more and more because of social media. So that's one thing to be grateful for. So again, I will say happy Sunday. And with that, I am Danielle Sear Williams, the founder of For the Lives of Prison Wives. And we have two very special guests with us today. Those guests have one common goal, and that's to slow the flow of the children through the school to prison pipeline. And, that's another issue that we're talking about, that systemic racism. So I'll go ahead and introduce our first guest. And her name is Miss Devin Frazier. Devin Frazier never had a plan B. She wanted to become an educator ever since the first grade. She desired to help children with leaving an impression on their lives. Once becoming a teacher, Devin learned of the connection between literacy and the school to prison pipeline. So working primarily with children of color and understanding this vital link, she decided to take action by creating programs that emphasize reading and ensuring children had books to read at home. She's been teaching for 17 years, and Devin has elevated her passion and founded an organization called I See Me Incorporated. It's her mission to ensure that literacy is not a stumbling block for children of color in their quest for success. We also have joining us Dr. Lyon Barger, the champion principal. If you're here in Tuscaloosa, I haven't run into too many people that don't know the champion principal. Dr. Lyon Barger is an experienced principal and consultant. He's currently the principal at Central Elementary School in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He's a skilled principal mentor, educational instructional design, motivational speaker, and curriculum development. He has a strong education professional with a doctorate of education focused in organizational leadership. So first, before I bring my guest on, I want to just share a little statistics with you of one statistic. The Literacy Project Foundation found that 3 out of 5 people in the U.S. prisons can't read, and 85% of juvenile offenders have trouble reading. Other research has estimated that illiteracy rates in prisons are as high as 75% of the prison population. This unaddressed issue in the United States prison system is inextricably linked to high recidivism rates. So with that being said, and that's coming from the ACLU, with that being said, I'd like to add Ms. Devin Frazier. Thanks for joining us, Devin. So glad to have you.
Thank you.
And the champion principal, Dr. Lyon Barger. Hey, Dr. Lyon Barger, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
All right, thanks. Thanks for joining us. I'm so glad to, to have both of you to share your wisdom on slowing the flow of children through the school to prison pipeline. So I just want to start off with Devin. Just tell us, what grade are you teaching right now?
Currently, I'm a reading specialist.
Okay.
And if I echoing, I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
Okay. Currently, I'm a reading specialist in Jefferson County Schools, but I have taught third, fourth, fifth, and sixth grades.
Okay. And tell us your organization, I See Me. What is it that actually led you to starting this foundation?
Actually, I had a student that I just fell in love with. It might have been my third year teaching. Great child. I mean, literally, I would have adopted this child. Was just in love with this child, but he did have some reading issues. As time transpired, I had a friend that was murdered, and he was actually murdered by a student, which was that student. And when I took a step back and reflected over my career, it really bothered me because I thought, what is it that I could have done to stop that? How could I have stopped him? I've had a lot of interactions throughout with him throughout the years, with him and his mom. If I ran to him, his mom was always like, please talk to him, please talk to him. And I was just, like I said, he was always respectful to me. But when I took a step back and reflected over my career, I saw how those students who had those lower reading levels were not as successful in life. And also, I realized that a lot of things that I was doing already connected or tied into the whole I See Me. And so one day I noticed my students were literally tearing up books in my class, not tearing them, but they were overly worn. And the ones that they were reading were the ones that they could see their image in. So I decided to do this big book drive. My goal was to send home a book with every child in my school because I knew that how literacy levels have shown to have a direct correlation with a person's future success. So I wanted them to be able to have these books to take home over the summer. We literally got books from all over the world, as far as Ireland. And I was able to send home not just one book with, but like 5 books with each child. We had over 1,400 books that was like from all over the world. And when I sat back and thought about the things, the programs I was already implementing in my classroom and in the school, as well as this book drive, one common theme was the I See Me, our children seeing themselves in the literature that they were reading, because they were more connected to it. Even if they were in the book looking at the pictures, eventually they began reading and wanting to read to see what the story's about because they were immediately connected to it. And so we began I See Me.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And, I briefly talked to Devin when we first met, and she was telling me about her organization. And when she shared that story about her student, and her friend, her friend was murdered. And to have a friend murdered by a student that you taught, that's, I don't know. It's no words.
Never thought that would never thought that.
Right.
That they would do something like that to someone that
right. Right. And as soon as she said that, it's sad, but I was a teacher, a former teacher, and I taught middle and high school. And I too have taught students that have gone from school and are now in prison. And I have had a student, recently that has been charged with murder. And it does make you, sit there and reflect, like, on the conversations that you had with the child, or is it something that I missed? Is there something that I could have done different, or something that I can put in place to make a difference and turn the light bulb on in these, in our kids' head, so that they can understand that education is the way out, the way to success. And like you said, one of the missing links, because there's several.
You're right.
One of them is, and a very important one, is education and reading. And when you said that children were tearing pages or out the book,
They weren't, let me say this, they weren't tearing, it was overly worn.
Right. It's overly worn. They're not paying, they weren't interested. You know, you have to, it's just like doctors that, let's just say you want to be a doctor, but if all you see is people that are not of color, you know, you can't identify. So you kind of check out. So I think that's a good thing that you started. Dr. Barger, would you like to chime in on that?
Yeah, well, Ms. Steele, repeat the question to make sure I got the question right.
Oh, I was asking Devin what led to her, and I know you starting this organization, but I know firsthand just from working with you and being under your leadership that we've seen a lot of students that have not been connected, you know. Yeah. And what do you think the reason is that sometimes they're not connected?
Yeah, I think unfortunately we see a lot of students who are not connected, who are going down the wrong road. It's twofold. On one side, we see a lot of students who are doing the right thing, but on the other hand, we see this small number of students who are not making right decisions. And I believe that it's a combination of factors. You know, I think when you really look at what's going on, I know some people blame the home and things like that. I believe that, you know, first of all, we as parents, we have to make sure we lay a good foundation. But the second part is when we send our boys to the schoolhouse, our girls to the schoolhouse, we have to make sure we have the best teachers in place who can build bonds and relationships and their different learning styles. I think there's a disconnect there in the schoolhouse. And that's one thing I know we have been working on with years, even working with you. We try to take care of those needs, that nurturing to motivate boys and girls and give them another option. You know, one of the biggest things is they will be what they see. And you go back to James Baldwin's work, and he talked about that many, many years ago. It's kind of hard to expect someone to do something that if they've never experienced it, they've never seen it.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I agree. So, Devin, have you seen a difference? What have you seen in your children now that they're reading these books? Are they?
Sorry.
You okay? It's okay.
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 It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Where was I? All right. So yeah, have you seen a difference with the children?
I have.
Okay.
I have. We don't only do these programs, we couple them with we don't only rely just on the literature because again, you know, I agree with the champion principle. We strongly believe as well in that two things, that they can't be what they can't see, number one, and number two, that it takes a village. And so, yes, we want them to be able to read, but if they don't see people that look like them reading, how can we expect them to become readers? Most schools have females, mostly if they're in a community or a school that is predominantly Black, most of them are Black female teachers, and they don't see books in the hands of a male. Even if it's a principal, most principals don't walk around with a book in their hand in classrooms reading. And so our boys and our girls don't see that. On top of the fact that a lot of the basal readers that are used in schools most of the stories don't reflect them. Once a child sees themselves represented in a book, their existence is validated. They feel that they are a part of the world. And those children, a lot of times who always see themselves represented in books, sometimes their egos or their existence is inflated. I remember as a child growing up, you know, just being honest, growing up, I read most of the books I read had characters that did not look like me. Right. Even the television shows. So even playing with my sister, I would do things like tie towels on my hair because I wanted my hair to be long and flowy like the girls that I saw on television, because to me that was beautiful. Whereas I didn't see a lot of women or people that look like me to understand or equate that that's beautiful. You know, this darker skin, this kinky hair. I didn't have that. And so now, although the numbers aren't great, in 2018, you had maybe 77% of books that was either written that featured either characters that were white or characters that were animals or some other type of creature. Black children, only 10% of books were written featuring an African American character, and like 5% was Latino type characters as well. So when you don't see yourself in those books,
Right.
and most of the people that you see around you holding the book is a Black female, and they're a teacher, most students, as we say, they're going to be what they see, which are teachers, police officers, especially in elementary school. You ask them what they want to be. They want to be a police officer. They want to be a firefighter. They want to be a teacher, a beautician, football player, or some athlete, or some type of musician, because that's all they see. So what we do is try to not only allow the children to see themselves in the literature that they're reading, but also see the books in the hands of successful men and women to equate literacy to success.
Right, right. And I've also seen on your website, do you have people that actually read to them, that volunteer to read to the students? And
yes, we have programs right now that allow our children to be able to see these books in the hands of men. One of the programs is called Real Men Read. And it's, although it's a once a year event, is hugely impactful. We've had 120 or more men that have shown up to be able to read with these boys. And we've had men from the SWAT commissioners come, presidents of banks have come, engineers have come, biker clubs have come, men who own their own trucking companies. These children are able to see that, okay, if I'm able to read, I can be this plumber. Right. Oh, you have a Black president of a bank. This guy, he started a magazine and he's a writer. You know, one of the other things they ask is, what kind of car do you drive? Because again, that's, you know, what kind of car do you drive? But to be able to understand, I see this book in the hands of this man, and he's successful, and he's not out here doing anything illegal. He is successful, and I can do that and get what he has because I can read. I mean, no child or parent has a child thinking, I want this child to end up in prison. I want this child to end up selling drugs or you know, and when doing something illegal. No one has a child thinking that. No child thinks that. But when you get older, it's survival of the fittest. What can I do in order to survive? And a lot of times, if you're not able to read, you turn to something that's illegal in order, not because you just want to do something illegal, but you may have family. You have to take care of yourself, your family. You may have a child. Now I have to take care of this family. And in order to do that, I have to have a job that's going to pay me well, and a job that's going to allow me to be able to take care of those around me. And most jobs aren't, I mean, minimum wage is just that, minimal, and it's not going to allow them to do that. So what they turn to is crime. And there are a lot of things that fall behind that. And that's how a lot of times our children fall victim to that. Right.
You're right. It's a very multifaceted. So, you know, one of those things that you mentioned is even though it's a one-day program, it exposes children to different careers instead of just the common careers, the everyday careers.
Correct.
It's so much out there that our kids just aren't aware of.
Right. It's that exposure piece. If they're not exposed, even as a classroom teacher. So this past year we had Real Men Read. This was our 10th year. Now, mind you, I See Me has just been in existence now 2 years. These were things that I was doing as a classroom teacher for my school or for my class. I would do that. I would have secret readers. Throughout the month, I would, you know, kind of give clues as to who's going to come. And then I would have people come and read to our kids. We had one gentleman that was an engineer. You know, I had a few boys in my class who was awesome in math, but loved to draw. And so I had him come out, and he read this book and talked to them about when he was in the 3rd grade, he wanted to be an engineer. He made up his mind then that's what he was going to do. Well, those kids are graduating this year. Those kids are going to school for engineering. But they may have not ever known that that was even a possibility. They may have not known that a Black man could be something like that until they saw it.
Right.
Even NFL, we had an ex-NFL player that came before to Real Men Read and explained to our boys, yeah, you're real good at playing sports, but you're not going to get in college because you're not understanding how you still got to read to take these tests to get in school. Then there was some kind of test he said you had to take even, get in NFL. And if you can't read and remember these plays, who is going to sign you up for this team? So it all connects at the end of the day.
Yes, and that's so funny that you said that. I'm not the biggest sports fan, but when I was just talking to people that have played football and they tell me about the plays and you have to learn the plays and you have to learn, you're right. There's no way to escape reading.
Exactly. Everything that you do in life is connected by reading, period. That's the one commonality. I don't care what job you choose, what career you choose, you're going to have to read at some point in your life. We talk about STEM, which I think is amazing. We need to push STEM. Hands down, we need to do it.
Yes.
But the other thing we have to make sure of is our children can read. And I've just found in the classroom that my students, as I said, I was the one, the first month of school, I would be obedient when I was in the classroom. I would take out my basil and I taught because I was supposed to teach out of the basil.
Right.
Then I was just that honest person. I would tell my principal, look, I'm just letting you know, because he would send people to come and observe my class or have other people from out of town. And I would say, look, I'm letting you know this now. Go on, get this in because I'm going to put this to the side. And I would pull in literature that I knew my children could connect to. And I would use that as a way to boost or build their literacy, their proficiency. And what was so funny is my students that were in ex-ed, exceptional students, they would grow more than anyone. Those ones that you would think, we'll just put, the world push them to the side. Those are the ones I would get so much growth out of them because they felt connected to what they were reading. They were interested. They wanted to learn, even to hear a child say that boy looks like me. I want to read that. Or to hear a child say, or to see a child literally, when we were receiving these books, literally stole a book. And the students had to tell me, Miss Frazier, he stole this book. He can have it. He stole a book. When do you see that? But I see a character that I connect to. Even if it starts off with looking at the pictures, I'm going to at some point start trying to figure out these stories because I want to know what this story is about. And that's what I saw in my class and in the schools that we're in.
Right. And we have to break away from tradition.
Exactly.
We have to do things differently because traditional does not work. All right, Dr. Lyon Barger, I know you also have programs that expose your children, as well. I've seen men come in and read to your students. You start off in a special way at the beginning of each year. So just share with us some of the things that you have going on that you're sharing. And the thing that I love about this, we're talking elementary school. So the thing is to start as early as possible because I was middle and high school. So by the time they get to middle and high school, if they're not already interested in reading in elementary, that makes the job even more difficult. If you can even change their mind. Just being honest. Go ahead, Dr. Lyon Barger.
Yeah, just very briefly, I worked on the high school level, the middle school level, and now, of course, the elementary level. And you're right. If you don't reach them at this lower level, it's going to be very difficult to reach our boys and girls once they get to the middle school or high school level. It still can be done in some cases, but it's going to be very, very difficult. But one thing I love about elementary is that I get an opportunity to see them as babies. So when they first come in as pre-Ks, I get to see them grow all the way to 5th grade. So I'm actually, me and my staff, we're able to actually kind of mold them into what we want to mold them into. And so my whole mind is, of course, they're going to be what they see. So we have to model great behavior for them. And we also have to bring in different people from the community. So, for example, I think 6 years ago, we started what we call the Champion Summit. And so one of the biggest problems, I think, with the school to prison pipeline is that we do not celebrate our boys and girls enough. I mean, we celebrate the sports and all of that. That's why you see the trophies and things when you go to the schools. But very rarely do you see something that deals with academics. And so I believe that we have to celebrate our boys and girls with academics as well as sports and arts and everything else. So on Monday mornings, we have what you call the Champion Summit. I have people from the community who come in to tell why they are a champion. For example, Judge England came one time. So Judge England, it blew his mind, first of all, because he was a black man. And they didn't clue judge. And, you know, he with his robe on and everything. And he told them what it took for him to be a judge. He even told them about his sons. And so that's believable for them. So, and so along with the Champion Summit, we also celebrate our boys and girls. They may have been successful in academics, discipline, achievement, attendance, or whatever the case may be. And we celebrate them in front of the whole entire school. And it just blows their mind to, you know, it's just like a basketball game. So we're clapping and we're celebrating. We're basically just telling them how they are a champion. So that's one of the things that we do at my particular school, is to celebrate and build our boys and girls up. You have to give them self-esteem. If they don't be a judge, they never would even dream of being a judge. You know, I even let them come to my office and take pictures at my desk, because I want them to see what it looks like and feel like to be a principal. If they can see it again, they can feel it and they can become a principal. Another thing that we do is called Champion Reads. It's kind of like the other guest is saying. So we have visitors that come into the building pretty much on a daily basis. So we let them book hundreds of hours reading books to our boys and girls during the day. You know, some of the students look like them, some do not look like them. But one thing I've pushed since I've been at my particular school is I made an effort to purchase books that relate to them. So coming to the library, you know, you'll see a brown library. You'll see brown in the library. We have brown bookshelves in the classrooms. So, you know, I think about my own son, and you know him as well, Ms. Williams. I asked him years ago, I said, Jay, what's the problem with reading? He said, why would I want to read a book about Cinderella? And it kind of, he want to read books about boy stuff, bugs, sports and science and touching things. So that's what we've tried to do at my school, is to create an environment that kind of resembles them, to make them have a real love for learning.
Yes, and tell them about the walls, Dr. Lyon Barger. When you walk in and just walk down the hallway, what's on your walls?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know, I'm very thankful to my school system for allowing me to put things on the wall. But we have like powerful quotes from Mandela, Frederick Douglass, and on and on. So once you when you first walk in, there's a champion quote about what it takes to be a champion. It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And I drill that into their minds every single day. Because you don't want to try to repair a broken man years down the line. It's very, very difficult. It's easy to build that child up. And that's one thing I just want to do, is just keep building our boys and girls up, putting this greatness in their minds, and then eventually they will believe it. Right.
And I think that's a great thing, what you said about the way in which you honor their academics. You know, we can't put too much emphasis on sports. That's not knocking those that have athletic abilities, but it's very important that you do that. I can recall kids, maybe they've changed, I don't know, but I can recall, you know, having honors day or being at honors day programs, and one of the kids that people thought would not receive an award got an award. But guess what? He did not want to get up and go get it because he was embarrassed. You know, so I think that's a good thing to try to change the mindset, you know, and is to be celebrated and not be ashamed of.
Yeah, it's not, you know, to a lot of our boys, for some reason, I don't know whether it's around 3rd or 4th grade or whatever, but they feel that being smart or being a nerd is not cool. But one thing I've done, you mentioned cars and things like that. See, I don't brag about it to them, but I let them see my car. I'm in competition with people from the street. The same car.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have it as well. The same house that they have, I have a better house. So we have to put that in their minds and let them know, hey, this is cool going to college or going to get a trade and doing the right thing. We're in competition. And this allows them to say, hey, I can actually do this. Because a lot of them, they feel that it's only one way to do it. Well, that's not what they knew. So we have to do a better job of showing them the different options and say, hey, It may just take a little bit more time, but you can go ahead and get that Camaro, or you can get that Charger, or whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Right. Very good. So,
can I say this really quick?
You sure can.
I wanted to go back to what you were saying about the elementary schools and how vital it is in elementary schools. So statistically, 2/3 of children who are not reading on grade level by the 4th grade are said they're going to fall victim to the criminal justice system or will end up on welfare. Right now, well, according to 2018, 2019 data, 65% of our children from 3rd grade were not reading on grade level. That's huge. You know, that's, oh crap, I keep doing that. I apologize.
That's okay.
I'll be back. Oh yeah. So when I'm having all kind of technical difficulties.
That's all right.
But when you at 65% of your children. Now let's think about the we just got through talking about the prison system. And as you said, the quotes, as the numbers you said, 70% of those in the prison system are said to be functionally illiterate. Well, 19% of those are said to be fully illiterate. And so if we don't start working our children, as we are saying, in the elementary school, it is harder once they reach high school and middle school to change that, because they've already, you're almost on the person you're going to be, unless there's something huge to kind of shake you out of that. Once they get to middle and high school, elementary schools are the formative years.
Right.
And so it's very important that, as we're saying, that they see these things and they start thinking about what it is that they want to be, and being able to understand that how literacy and everything is connected to success, because every day they go home, they're seeing everything else around them. We have to flood out those things, those negative factors that are around them.
Right. And I think that's a good thing. And hopefully what it will do is to just eventually encourage them, to actually go home and do these things on their own, Maybe they don't have a parent that's encouraging them. But if you in the classroom and you, Dr. Lyon Barger, as the principal, if you all can instill how important that is to them, then hopefully maybe it'll make a difference. So they will go home and say, oh, well, you know what? Let me just pick up this book and read this, because I wonder what happened with this character. I wonder, So hopefully, I think what both of you all are doing is great. It's wonderful. And I'm sure it's going to touch many lives. And Devin, how can those that want to donate to your foundation books, how can they reach you?
You visit our website, www.iseemeinc.com. We are a 501c3, so it is tax deductible. You can donate there. It's also other information about the other programs that we offer as well. You can send us an email if you would like to volunteer. We would love to have you. We're currently in Fairfield, Midfield, and Birmingham City Schools. So we would love to see you work with our children in those school systems, as well as we would like to invite you. One of the big things that we like to do is not only educate our children, we have to educate our community as to the importance of literacy. I don't think that's something we really think about when we think about our crime in our area. Most areas with low reading proficiency have high crime in that area. So we have to understand how all that works together. So we have this thing in the summers we call Books Not Bars. Last year was called Books Not Bars, How Literacy Impacts the School to Prison Pipeline. And we had someone from the school system all the way through the prison system, from a teacher to a superintendent, a judge, an attorney, the district attorney. We had someone from all, through the school to prison pipeline to talk about how they've seen how literacy impacts it. Well, this year on June the 25th at 6 o'clock, if you will log on, or if you would like to like our page, I See Me, on Facebook and on Instagram, we'll be doing a live stream of Books Not Bars this year. This year is how literacy impacts the workforce. And right now, with everything going on with the COVID, and we have a lot of people who are unemployed, that is something we really need to focus on, how literacy is even impacting that. And so we would like to invite you to tune in to that as well, to educate our community as to the importance of it as well.
Okay. And Dr. Lyon Barger, I know we all in Tuscaloosa know how to reach you. But yeah, for anybody else.
Yeah, that's it. I'm easy to reach. Check me out, Champion Principal on Facebook. I'll be right there, guys.
Okay. All right. And I thank you all for being special guests today. I enjoyed, and hopefully, share this video with others, because there are many children that could benefit. And like we said, and Devin says, it takes the village. It takes a village. So do your part and volunteer, mentor. And again, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.